We're running an experiment to see what happens when you post the same insight in 3 different formats. Hey, Zach, we are back and it is cold.
It's actually really cold here too.
Yeah, we're in the 20s again, which is nice. 27. I mean, compared to what
It's
it's been.
yeah, because it was in like the negative like what like -5, -6 or something like that.
We had a day when it warmed up 10 degrees to a high of -1.
Oh my
But it
gosh.
started at -11. Yeah, it was awful. We luckily just got a dusting of snow. I know you got some ice there in North Carolina, but like the
hmm
2,300-mile storm just went through, so that's when we're recording this for everybody.
Yeah, that
Um,
was crazy.
yeah, I was on with a client this morning, and they got 2 feet of snow.
Oh my
They're
gosh,
on the East Coast somewhere. I don't know where, but I was like, "Holy cow, that's
that's a
crazy."
lot. Wow.
Yeah, okay, but we're not here to talk about snow. We're here to talk about marketing experiments. Um, We're going to conduct one, I think, next month in February,
hmm
and we'll see how that goes. So we'll get into that in a little bit, but first we have to talk about a margarita soda.
So
So
yeah, a
what the hell?
margarita soda is kind of just like a highball, but a margarita, and it's really simple. And honestly, like, I don't know why there aren't more of these. Highballs are awesome.
Okay.
I think a
Mhm.
margarita soda would be really nice too.
Well, and a highball is designed to feature the alcohol, right? Like, you
Exactly.
really get it in there. So I didn't have wine last night while I was watching TV. I had Empress Gin and Tonic, which was
Oh,
interesting. So Empress Gin, it's a purple elderflower gin. When it gets old, it gets kind of bluish. It was sort of weird. Mine was like this sort of turquoisey blue. Um, but I also found Mediterranean tonic water. So I don't know what the difference is. I didn't really read, but it's Fever Tree. I love Fever Tree, my favorite. I know that was Caitlin's favorite too. Um, Mediterranean tonic water. So I did that and it was great and I loved it and it was wonderful. Um, all right. So on this one, yeah, you're going to feature the tequila. It's going to be tequila forward, which is, I think this sounds great.
hmm
1.5 ounces tequila. This one says preferably Pueblo Viejo Blanco. So they're looking at a white tequila. You can use any tequila though, but like the white's going to be a little bit lighter. Like it'll have a really nice, easy flavor. 3/4 ounce of agave syrup for your sweetness, 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. That's a good balance, like balancing the sweet and the tart. And then club soda. You'll garnish that with sea salt and a lime wedge. So boom, boom, here we go. You want to rim your Collins glass with sea salt. So you take your lime wedge generally and rub it on there and then dip your rim in salt. Everybody should know how to do that. First 3 ingredients to a shaker. So that's your tequila, agave syrup, and lime juice, and shake it until chilled when you can't hold it anymore and your hand is freezing. Put it into the prepared Collins glass and top with club soda and stir. Um, yeah, so that's really it. Garnish with lime wedge. You can add strawberries or lemon slices or lemonade or pineapple juice or wine or refrigerate it for at least 2 hours. Like, wait, that's not right.
Yeah,
That's
that's from the
from an
last
old
one.
one.
So
All
I
right.
messaged you that. My bad.
Okay, well, I don't have a messenger up. Um,
You could add
so
strawberries though. That'd probably be pretty good.
yeah, you could add strawberries. All right. Little typo there. I don't know if you'll edit that out or if everybody's going to get to
I'll
hear our
probably edit it
mistakes.
out.
All right, this is from punchdrink.com, not punch drunk. That's a whole different thing. Inboxing punchdrink.com. Little play on words. All right, well, should we take a break and get into it?
Yep, let's do it.
Okay, Zach, you said we're doing an experiment. We teased the experiment. What is the experiment?
All right, so we're going to run the same insight in 3 different formats on 3 different platforms. So the insight we're going to do is how we run creative fully remote. And here are the formats we're doing: a short video on Instagram, a
Yep.
carousel post on LinkedIn, and a blog on Facebook. So those are 3 different formats. I'm kind of basing it off of what I've seen perform decently well in the past for us.
Okay,
But
so
this
those have
is
all performed
also,
well.
yes, yeah. I would say like there is a little bit of like what will perform better on Instagram and Facebook: a carousel on Instagram or a carousel on LinkedIn, or a video on LinkedIn and a video on Instagram. So there's that, like, vice versa you could do there, where videos sometimes perform pretty well on LinkedIn depending on what it is, and carousels sometimes perform better on Instagram and it just depends like what it actually is and the kind of engagement you get. But I think this is a good experiment for us to run just to kind of see like how the same format will perform when we post with three different formats. But this is also something that you guys listening can try yourselves too with some of your content because
Mhm.
it'll help you find what works best for you.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is an isolated kind of experiment where we're just looking at like one insight, but we could expand this and try it with different things too, just to see.
Yeah, and if you really want to do it for control, right, you generally only change one thing. So you'd be doing a video on Instagram, a carousel on Instagram. You can't really do a blog on Instagram. That doesn't work very well because no links. But what I would suggest for this one, the way we're doing this, is do it this way, then take another piece of content later, like the next month, and flip it around. So do the carousel on Instagram, the short video on Facebook, and the blog on LinkedIn, for instance, just to
Mhm.
kind of rotate it and just see, because your topic could impact it potentially, and which format you put on which platform could. So I think the thing here though is like it's about playing, right? Like play around,
Yeah.
try something.
And I think once you have these different formats, you can obviously share them on the other platforms that didn't get that exact format too. So
Mhm,
if we post a video on Instagram like we're going to do, we could post it on LinkedIn later and say, "Hey, in case you missed it, here's a video covering that same topic we shared last month." So it kind of opens up, okay, we can go back and test it if we want.
mhm.
So I think it's a really fun experiment because we're looking at how content performs not just on different platforms, but also with the format you're doing. And yeah, I think what you said with tweaking the actual like insight itself and seeing if we can like try different formats, I think that'll be good.
Yeah, it's just an operational thing that you could do. I mean, you don't have to do 3 either, you could just do 2. Like, you could test video on multiple platforms. I know we post video to multiple platforms, but I think here the question is, like, will video perform better than the carousel, or was the blog better? Do people really wanna dive in? And so rotating through that, I think, is a really neat way to operationalize that, down the road. Hey, I actually said that word right. I've had trouble with the word operationalize, like, all month, but I
Nice.
got it. So we're good. Um, yeah,
So
and go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say the insight itself, right? So that was pulled from Jesse. He has like a little process from within the creative team that we're going to be highlighting, and it's obviously shared in differently according to the format. So in the video, it's like 50 seconds. So we're not really
Mhm,
spending too much time. We're just getting like a nice like face on camera telling you how it works. The blog covers things more in depthly and gives you like a bit
mhm.
of a how to it works. And then the
Yep.
carousel is at its most basic level. So we're kind of getting like three different ways of looking at this, right? And I
Yeah,
think
and I
that's pretty
think,
interesting too.
well, and people like stuff differently, right? Like, we always joke that, like, for me, like, Gen X, we want a list. We wanna read it. We wanna scan it. We wanna skim it. We want bullet points. I don't want your how-to video, but I know, like, your generation, and especially the younger generations, they're like, "Just show me how to do it. Like, show me the video and show me how to do it."
Hmm.
And so there's some of that where it's like, are you a visual learner, or do you learn by words? Um, and so that'll be interesting as well.
All right. So what do you think variables will matter the most when we test some of these formats?
I mean, I do feel like I kinda said, audience is gonna be, do we have an older audience on one platform versus another? I honestly don't know, I don't look at that. Um, Size of audience might matter. I think one of the other things is gonna be who reshares on which platform, because we know that when our team reshares things, it amplifies it and it
Hmm.
actually goes better. So if people are more likely to reshare on Instagram, but not on Facebook or something, like, there's a lot that can go into it, but I think some of those things also help us with, like, if we learn that our team is sharing stuff on Instagram more than anywhere else, okay, well, we've got an opportunity to amplify on that platform easier than other platforms. So there's a lot that I think we can get from it. I don't think you're gonna get video works better than blog. Like, that's not gonna necessarily be it. It's gonna be, for this test, video on Instagram worked better than blog on Facebook or carousel on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But we'd have to rotate it a few times to kind of get more deeply into what, like, really works best, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah. I think honestly, it just provides you a good starting point. if something performs better than something else, then you can test that on other platforms to see if it was
Mhm.
okay, it only performs well on this platform, or maybe it also works on LinkedIn or Instagram, for example. And I also think you kind of covered like how old is our audience, right? But also like the speed at which they like to be delivered information. So on Instagram, I think I've
Mhm.
seen a lot of my friends interact with the stuff that I'm in, like the videos that I'm in, and
Well,
like
your birthday post just went up, so, like
exactly that and some of the videos that I've been doing lately. I've seen those, and I've seen people, specifically my friends, like they'll send me messages like, "Hey, this was actually a pretty good insight." Like, "Hey, like that was pretty cool." So obviously, like I think video does pretty well there, and so a lot of these are like I said, a good starting point for what we see. But it's going to be interesting to kind of move things around and test, like you said.
yeah, 100%. Um, yeah, and it's gonna be I mean, there's little certain things that we know, like, right? Like, having some sort of visual on any platform helps your content get noticed because, like, text can get broken up and it can be really hard to see. I mean, in
Hmm.
some, like, Instagram, you can't post without a visual. You've gotta have a visual. I guess Threads is the non-visual Instagram, sort of.
Yeah.
But that's not part of this experiment. Um, so yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because there's also it's three different ways to tell a story, right? Like
Yep.
whatever we're talking about, we're telling a story and we're going at it in three completely different ways. I think of it like reading a book and watching the movie from the book. The book is going to have more in it, but you're also subject to interpretation in your head, where in a movie, somebody else has interpreted that for you. And they've given you, the voice and the music and the sound effects and all of those things. Um, so I'll be curious to see kind of how the team executes on that. And then like Carousel is like a slideshow, right? Like it's
Hmm.
kind of a hybrid in between.
Yep.
Um,
It's basically just a slideshow. But it's nice. I like them on LinkedIn, especially with some of like the PDF ones you can make. You flip through them and they can be pretty engaging, especially if you like know what you're doing with the copy because you can hook people in with something on the first slide and then move them through a pretty complex topic in like a simple way. So it's almost like a video for people that don't necessarily want to watch a video. It's that
mhm.
same kind of you're getting that insight kind of chopped up in a more digestible way to where you're not reading a 5 or 10 minute blog and you're seeing it right there. So it falls into that no click content, that zero click content that we're trying to that
Yep.
the industry is and like all social media is moving towards. So
Well, and the platforms are all rewarding, right? Like they want to keep you on their platform. So, I mean, Facebook started doing that a long time ago, where if you could keep somebody on the platform and not link them out, you would get more views. LinkedIn has their whole long format area, like right on the platform. So you can have your blog like right in LinkedIn and be plenty long format and not really, you don't have to put the whole thing in the post. The
yeah,
post can still be short, but then it'll keep you on LinkedIn to take you to the bigger piece. So yeah, I kind of hate that because like I want them on our own property. I want them somewhere that we own, like versus somewhere else. But you just have to kind of adapt and figure that
yeah.
out.
Provide people value in the moment because otherwise they're just gonna find that
Hmm.
value somewhere else.
Yep.
Which I think if you at home want to run this experiment, you should definitely find an insight that can translate well into multiple formats. And that might be something that resonates like really well with your target audience. Because if you choose like a not a great topic, you probably won't get the information or insight like information or analytics like you're looking for because it won't perform well on any of the platforms. So make sure it's something that resonates with your target audience for sure. But I think this is something that you should practice just in your daily like content creation and social media strategy, like so strategies and planning, just because it's good to test these things, right? It's good to see
Hmm.
what works well in which format, and if you're consciously making an effort to figure that out, you're not gonna suffer in content quality because you're actually like aiming to create a good piece of content, but you're also not gonna have to like be reactive with your planning, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah, and and we'll come back obviously like after we do the experiment, we'll come back and share there'll be another episode on this like about what happened. And I think we'll be able to share what we think we learned definitively, what was sort of directionally interesting and kind of some of these things that we saw with audience or with format or that kind of thing. And then I do think that, like, we would need to do it again and again and again, like several times. But
Hmm.
that's like, that's part of marketing, right? Just continue to iterate and experiment and try and, pivot and make things better as you go incrementally. Um, yeah, I think you just did a short video about, like, perfection is not really the goal.
Yeah. You want to put stuff out so that you can iterate on it and
Yep.
make any changes you need and see how it performs. Because I mean, everyone's guilty to falling the failure to launch. But if you make
Yeah,
a
I think
conscious effort to get things out there, then you don't have to worry about it being perfect because you can improve it to the point that you want it to get.
Yeah, perfection is probably the number one enemy of marketing. Because,
100%.
marketing it's art and science, like you can kind of figure it out, but there's no perfect answer, and everything is always evolving and growing and learning. And that's really what this experiment is about, is like, let's try something a little bit different to see what we learned from it. And we may come back and it might be a 5-minute episode where we say we didn't learn anything. So sorry, it was a fun experiment. We'll talk
Well,
about,
and
koalas.
it's nice to have this podcast as kind of a launching point where we're like talking about it and thinking of what might happen and some things that we can do to make the experiment perform well. Because at the end of the day, like if we really get like really fun results on this, or like something interesting happens, there'll be a larger piece of content that we can kind of like break down this whole experiment. And this podcast
Mhm.
would be a nice starting point for any of those that are listening and want to try this out for themselves. Because it's
Yeah.
really simple, right? You're just creating a piece of content in just three different ways. If you're already creating a blog, repurpose it into a video and a carousel, like we're gonna do. So
Hmm.
it's really
Yeah,
not.
100%. And we do that a lot, like where we'll have things that we part out or post in a different format somewhere else. I know some of our short form videos, like with tips and things, are also like a longer form HubSpot blog. Like those exist in the same ecosystem. And you can also then learn, like, can you leverage them? Can you leverage that short video to get people to the blog? Or the carousel on LinkedIn, do you tie that with the blog and get people over there? But it's really about, like, what will people consume? And for this one, it's what will they do on the platform, basically, because most of these are going to be, well, the Facebook one's going to kick people off, link people off to the blog. And that may be a detractor. We don't know. And so then coming back and putting video on Facebook later with an experiment and putting a carousel on Facebook and
Mhm.
keeping it self-contained, do we get a better reaction? Do we get more eyeballs on it when we don't try to take people out? I
Yeah,
don't know.
100%. I'm very interested to see. Should we move into some predictions on what we think will happen?
We can try. I think it's just a crapshoot at this point on what we think will happen. We're just guessing.
Yeah.
Um,
It's kind of fun though. I mean, we can always come back and
mhm.
see how right or wrong we were. So,
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting one. So, what's going to perform the best?
yeah, which format do we think
Hmm.
will perform the best?
I think the blog post will perform the worst, personally.
Yeah. I think blog posts, I'm not going to say they're starting to die because there's still like value in them and having them, especially on your website for search like SEO and getting organic search. And you can
Mhm.
really like, we've seen like leads are still reading blogs from what I've seen, but
Yeah,
on social media, it's not performing as well as it did in the past. And it moves to that zero click stuff that we've been talking about probably in like three or four different episodes at this point.
yeah. It's. I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult. I mean, and you've really got to hook them right with a blog to get them off the platform, because they're scrolling. They've got to stop scrolling now and miss whatever's coming next and jump to your page and read your blog, and then they
Hmm.
can come back. But so that's going to be an interesting one. I also think that the way that Facebook and Instagram to some extent does this, when you're scrolling, sometimes if you've scrolled far enough, if you go back, the content's not there anymore. Like, it's that jump that Facebook does sometimes, which I hate, especially when you open it. Like, I'll open it and see something and be like, oh, that's interesting. And as you go to click it, the whole thing like resets
Yeah.
and that's gone. Like, it's just disappeared and it's gone.
Yeah.
Um,
It's almost impossible to find a reel. too that you that
Yep.
you really liked, and
Back, 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 back,
you
back, back,
accidentally
back.
refresh, and then you have no idea where it went and no idea how to search it because you can't even remember the person's name.
Yeah, same thing. Like I'll get one and it'll be like in the little previews up there and it'll be like, oh, like I want that. And then it'll like reset and that one goes all the way off to the right somewhere and I have no idea where it disappeared to. Or I got there at hour 23, minute 59, and 24 hours it was done and it just disappeared. And you're like, what?
Yeah, that
So
sucks.
I
Personally,
feel,
oh,
what do you
sorry, go
think is
ahead.
gonna, what do you think is gonna work best for the platform, I guess? Or
I think the video on Instagram will do well.
I do
Megan's
too.
gonna be recording that one, and so I think she'll do a really good job with it. But also, I think the way, oh my gosh, Lisa.
Misa.
I think
She's
the way
like,
that
I
it's
want
like
in.
set up and like the actual insight itself will fit better on video than any of the other platforms. I could see the carousel getting some pretty good engagement, but the way that we promote our content on Instagram, we put it on our story, we like we usually get a lot more views just from the algorithm on Reels like kicking in. And so in terms of like actual like post views, I think the video engagement, I want to say video, but the carousel could do pretty well if any of us share
Hmm.
it.
Yeah, and I think that carousels can be hard, right? Like because the way that people do it now where you tie the frames together works better, but like when it used to be like product A, product B, product C, product D, nobody ever got past the break on the carousel. People don't actually swipe those. You've got to have like, and that's where it's storytelling, right? If you've got that story thread going through the carousel images, you're going to have a better shot at people actually looking at more of them. Yeah, I mean, and LinkedIn tends to work fairly well. But to your point, on LinkedIn, it's generally do we share stuff and how do we share it? And do we, like, a lot of times I share stuff with no comment because I just can't be bothered to. Like, I'm sharing it because I want to get it out there and have my audience see it, but I don't have anything else to add. You guys did it. Like, it's gone, it's out there. And I've got a
And
lot going on.
And I think when one of us shares it on LinkedIn, right, it makes it a little more impactful. So, for example, if I shared it on LinkedIn and said, when I've been fully remote, like from the beginning for like quite a long time now, but when the whole team went fully remote, it definitely presented a new challenge. This process really helped us, and if your
Mm-hmm.
team is thinking of going fully remote, it could be something that helps you. That adds a
Yep.
lot of context and like makes it a little more personable and impactful. So I guess there's a ton of variables we could add to that
Mm-hmm.
either give it a
Yeah.
better chance of succeeding.
And I think that that's one of the big things because that's going to get more notice than me just resharing it with no comment whatsoever. Um, yeah. And I think it is interesting. Like, I mean, that's a great blog post for you too. Like how has the shift been from having just a couple of remote workers and being one of them that was fully remote in another state, couldn't drive into the office if you wanted to everybody going remote? And like, I feel like you probably feel more seen maybe, and there's a better understanding of like, oh, we're all little islands out here. Like I ran into Jessica in Sioux City. I was up there on Monday. My mom rang the bell for her final cancer treatment.
Really?
And I was in Sioux City and we just went to Chili's and Jessica and Chris were at the bar in Chili's. So like she sent me a Slack message and she's like, y'all just decided to go to Chili's? And I'm like, yeah, we did. And she's like, I know, I saw you. We're sitting in the bar. And so I went over and I chatted with her because I'm like, I haven't seen you in a while. So like in person, I see her on video every day. Like we've had 3 video calls today, I think.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's like those things and those perspectives are
Shift.
different. And
Yeah.
I think as we share our piece of that with whatever this content is, um, because it's going to be different for Isaac from a writing standpoint, from you from a
Hmm.
content planning standpoint, Megan from a design standpoint or video standpoint. You all have a different process for managing content remotely, and you all have, well, it's the same process, right? We all follow the same process, but you all have your own struggles with different pieces of it. Um, because, you're different people.
Yeah. And also, like, another thing that remote does, this is kind of getting into what the actual insight is about, but it also shifts on how you do collaboration, right? And how you get feedback. And I mean, it was like you were saying with the silos, if you don't create intentional systems to have that collaboration that you would normally have in an office, where I can't walk over to somebody's desk anymore, pat them on the shoulder and say, hey, what do you think of this?
Yep.
Or hey, like, I'm having trouble with this, right? If you don't actively create those situations for yourself remotely, you're not going to have them, and you're going to be like this television siloed off, and it's not going to create the best creative output you can get.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
so
nobody liked my floating heads virtual office tool that I found, where like your little head can go into your office and you can close your door, open it. You can go sit at a couch with other people. Because basically the idea is your camera is always on, and you can go do that. The bandwidth that would take just seems like a lot to me. So I don't know how they managed that, but
it's an interesting idea, and I've seen stuff like that before. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like the whole team has to be into it for it to
yeah, I
work.
mean we'll get everybody like Meta Quests or the Apple VR headset, and we can all just live in VR all day. Like, I mean, that's what Mark Zuckerberg wanted. He wanted us all to be
Mhm.
like in there, but then nobody had legs, and that was awkward. Like, it's just really weird.
Yeah, weird
All right.
avatars.
I know, it's so crazy. And that's the one that I shared, the floating heads thing it was a little bit weird, but it kind of makes sense. They have it. I'm watching Moonhaven now on Netflix. It was moved over there from AMC because AMC basically killed it, and I just need new sci-fi and everything. And the cast is pretty good, but they have a virtual system. They drop this blue ball into like a wooden coconut kind of thing.
Hmm.
Have you seen it?
No, I don't even know what
Oh,
it is. It
so
sounds cool though.
yeah, so they drop this blue ball into a wooden coconut thing, and it takes their image and puts them in a VR conference room where they're all sitting, but none of them have legs. So, like from the waist up, it looks like them, but there's no legs underneath the table because
So
it
it's
doesn't need to be because nobody can see under the table.
oh wow. So it's kind of like the holograms from like Star Wars or something, where it's like
So
half the
yeah,
body,
yep,
but it's
yeah,
like in
kind
a
of.
virtual. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, but the idea is Moonhaven is we're ruining the Earth, so they sent a group of people to the moon and have created like this dome. So like the Sea of Tranquility is actually a sea; it's water,
Oh,
and they have trees and all this stuff. And the Mooners are
the
um,
Mooners.
running a completely different society, and they've got an AI at the center of it that's helping them fix things. And the idea is that then they would come back to Earth and help Earth fix what's in Earth. But honestly, there's a lot of conflict, and nobody really wants stuff. I'm only on episode like 3, I think.
I mean,
Anyway,
that's a lot of lore for 3 episodes in, so it's probably
it
pretty
is
deep.
a lot of lore. I mean, there's so much more. Like children aren't raised by their parents; they're raised by other people.
I was
Um,
like community almost, or like,
yeah, and they don't. They know who their parents are, I believe, but maybe not. I don't remember. But there's this whole like communal thing, and the idea that you eliminate bias by having somebody else raise your child. Like the
and they're
child
meant to
doesn't grow up with.
save the Earth from like what they like learned like
Mhm.
colonizing the moon.
Yeah, and the
Oh,
biggest thing right now is people are like, "You're not going to take our children from us." There's protests about like and they're like, "Well, but it's like for the harmonious society, like things have to be weird." So anyway, complete and total tangent. We haven't had one of those in a
we
while.
haven't had like that good of a tangent in a
Yeah,
while.
it's a
So I
big
guess
one.
check out Moonhaven on Netflix.
Yeah, it's good, and hopefully, I mean, AMC killed it, and it'd be nice if Netflix picked it up and did another season because I think there's only one season.
Mm.
But it's pretty good. It's a nice little sci-fi fill if you need it. Starfleet Academy is out now though, so that's also a good sci-fi fill. All right, so yeah, none of that has anything to do with our experiment that we're gonna. Well, it's an experiment they ran.
Yeah,
Um, so we'll run an experiment next month, and then probably sometime in March, I'm guessing we'll come back
March.
with
We'll
here's
probably
what it looked like, and maybe we learned something, and maybe we didn't. We don't
well,
know.
we'll probably test some more stuff too if we don't get any data the first time, because I think there's definitely potential to move things
Mhm.
around and try different formats of other pieces of content. But if you want to follow along on this experiment, stay tuned to our podcast, but also you can find our agency at antidote71.com, and all of our socials are there as well. If you have a question you'd like to send our way concerning this experiment or any other service or thing that we do, head to ctapodcast.live to shoot us an email, or even better, leave us a voice message on our hotline at 402-718-9971. Your question will make it into a future episode of the podcast.
100%.